When I converted this Harbor Freight cabinet into a vapor hone cabinet, I still wanted to be able to use it for a dry blasting cabinet. So the first thing I did was modify the siphon tube. The way mine came from Harbor Freight is the smaller tube was attached to the inside of the larger tube, so I separated them. There's lots of YouTube videos out there that show how to modify this tube. The smaller tube has to extend about 2 inches past the larger tube, and I just welded a plug in the end of the smaller tube. Some people just crimp it shut. Before I welded the tubes together, I drilled a 5/16 hole in each tube. The holes have to face each other when you weld the tubes together. Air has to pass between the two tubes through that hole. Next, you drill a 1/8 hole near the top of the larger tube, just below where the hose hooks to the tube. The smaller tube that's plugged at the bottom is open at the top end. This design helps to pick up the media without clogging. I added another air line to the inside of the cabinet with a quick disconnect. So when I'm not using the cabinet for dry blasting, I can just pull the gun and the pickup tube out. I ran the air line out through a grommet next to the other two lines that are used for wet blasting. I added a separate regulator for the dry blasting. It's got a quick disconnect on it for the air hose, and it's also got a water separator. I've been doing a lot of dry soda blasting with the cabinet. The soda is really powdery, and it tends to hang up on the inside of the chute going down. So I put a vibrator on there that's made for, I think, concrete. I found it on Amazon, and it had pretty good reviews. Before I mounted the motor to the cabinet, I made a 1/16 inch thick aluminum plate to help support the motor and maybe distribute some of the vibration. I don't know if it was necessary, but I added a layer of silicone between the two pieces of metal. I just didn't want it to be metal to metal with the vibrator. The silicone and masking tape held it in place long enough for me to get the screws started. It comes from the factory with its most intense setting, but there's a way you can adjust the settings by taking the two caps off the end. You can see at the far right the centric weights are the same. So I'm going to change it to the 40-degree angle at 25% according to the instructions. It's the second from the left. I'm using a momentary contact foot switch that I got from Harbor Freight to run the vibrator whenever I need it.